Hey everyone, our topic is known as Computer Hardware 1. The course code is EEC 117 with 2. So our second slide is known as the diagram of computer operation. As we can see on the screen, here are the diagram and the items on the diagrams. The first one is central processing unit, which is the CPU. Then we have arithmetic and logic unit, then input unit, output unit, then control unit and memory unit. So the central processing unit refers to the brain of the computer that execute the instruction and programs that are embedded on the computer systems. So the arithmetic and logic unit, the function of ALU, which is arithmetic and logic unit, it works with the mathematical aspect operations on the computer system, like addition, multiplication, division, and so on. So we have the control unit. So the control unit controls the arithmetic and logic unit and the memory unit and tell them what to do and how to input their informations to the system. Then we have input devices, input unit and output unit. So the input unit, which we have two examples on the diagram. Under the input unit, we have the keyboard and mouse. So the function of this keyboard is to input data into the computer system, while mouse is also an input device that will be able to navigate from one icon to another in order for us to select and input data into our system. So we have the output unit. The output unit, which is known as the monitor and printer. The function of monitor, we use it to visualize images or videos on the system. Then we now have printer. With the help of printer, we will be able to print out a hard copy of an object. So we have the memory unit. The memory unit, which is known as the storage, it can either be RAM or ROM. The RAM refers to random access memory. It holds data temporarily, so we can call it a volatile memory. So the word volatile refers to process of saving data temporarily. Then the ROM, which is known as read-only memory, save data permanently. The process of saving data permanently on the system is called non-volatile. So that's the difference between the RAM and ROM. They are all memory. So the function of memory is to store data and information into the system. Our third slide is still on computer operation. So a computer operation is an action that a computer performs to complete tasks. The 5 basic computer operations are. So without those computer operations, there is no how you will be able to have a computer that can perform a task. The computer have to have those criteria. We have the input. The input unit is the process of entering data and instructions into the computer. Then we have the memory. The memory is for saving data and instructions for processing. So data must be saved on a system before you will be able to process on them. Then processor. The processor performing logical and arithmetical operations on data to convert it into useful information. So this processor provides a room for them to have a useful information. Without this processor, you will not be able to have a good outcomes of your programs. Then output, producing useful information or results for the users, such as visual display or printed reports. In this situation, the output refers to the process of visualizing an image or videos, and also the printer provides a means of printing out a report. Then we have the control unit, is a component of a computer central processing unit, CPU, that directs the computer's operation. The CPU, which is known as the control unit, is responsible for many tasks. So without the CPU, which is control unit, most items will not be able to function. The control unit is the one controlling the aspect regard to the other components of the system. So we are now in fourth slide. Our fourth slide is known as what is a memory port. So a memory port refers to the specific connection point on a computer's motherboard where a RAM module random access memory is plugged in, allowing the CPU to access and store data within the system memory. Essentially, it is the physical slot where you insert a RAM chip to provide the computer with working memory. So with all this English, let's look at this diagram to have a clear understanding. So as we can see, here is the diagram of the RAM port. A RAM port refers to a place where we can insert our RAM, which is known as random access memory. A random access memory is just a memory that we can save our vital information into them. So here is the hardware slot that you'll be able to input the RAM. So as we can see, we have about 4 slots of RAMs that we can insert on those particular chips. So for instance, if you are using RAM on one slot, then you now input and information and document and files on them. Once that RAM has filled up, you can also increase another RAM to the other slot so that you will be able to upgrade the RAM. So process of upgrading RAM, you have to attach extra RAM, different slots. That is why they make it up to 4 places. If you have occupied the first one, you can also buy a new RAM and insert on it. After you occupy it, you can also have another one serially. So that's all we have for the memory port. A memory port is a slot that we can input our RAMs. So key points about memory ports. Function. So the memory port acts as a pathway for data transfer between the CPU and RAM, enabling fast access to data needed for ongoing computation. So regard to this, the pathway is a means whereby, or it can be cable whereby it will join the point between the CPU and the RAM, so that it will enable access of information that data have already saved to be computed to the CPU. Then physical appearance. On a motherboard, memory ports are usually clearly marked slots with small chip that hold the RAM modules securely in place. If we notice on that RAM chip, there is 2 pins at the edge whereby after you insert the RAM, you will be able to clip them so that the memory chip will be held there, so that even though the system turn upside down, the RAM will not fall down. So that's the essence of these clips that are attached to the RAM modules. So they secure the RAM to not have issue or to not shift from the main port. So once it eventually shifts, the RAM cannot function because it is not at the right spot. So multiple ports. Most computers have multiple memory ports, allowing for the installation of several RAMs modules to increase the system's total memory capacity. As we can see on the slide, there is many space on the RAMs, or there is addition of RAMs port that you'll be able to increase RAMs. If the first one has filled up, you can increase it to be second or third or fourth and so on. So on a memory module, keys are physical nuts on the module that prevent the memory from being incorrectly installed in a computer system. So those pin, if they have issue, it will not function perfectly. So like for this, and this nut should be in a form of maybe something mistakenly spoil it, or it has a little damage on it. It will not be able to function. It will serve as incorrect. So memory keys also prevent the memory from being installed into a compatible computer system. So we are now on the 6th slide. We are going to look at the block diagram showing the interconnection of the subunits of the motherboard. So we have the CPU, north bridge, south bridge, ROM, memory slot, hard drive slot, connectors, Ethernet, USB, then PCL slot, AGP or PCL slot. So let's start from the CPU. The CPU, as we know, that is the central processing unit, is the brain of the computer system that executes the instruction and information that are given to it in order for us to have a fruitful output of the system. Then we have the NOT bridge. The function of this NOT bridge is to connect the CPU to memory, graphics card, and PCLS plus slot, manage high performance tasks like communication between the CPU and other parts of the motherboard. So we have the south bridge. So we have the south bridge. The function of this south bridge is the another chip of the logical chip architecture is located to the south of peripheral components, which is the motherboard. The main function is to control the input-output functioning, bridge, and the medium side. So let's look at the ROM, read-only memory. It saves data and information permanently on the system. Then memory slots, where we can input our hard disk drives and RAMs. So we have hard disk slot like floppy disks, adapter, and so on. So the connector Ethernet allows us to connect USB via, we can be able to have internet. So the process of creating your putting your LAN port on your system. So